The longer I play this game, the more I realize that it's not so much that ships are bad, it's just they're played incorrectly. Now, I know there are still some stinkers out there, so go ahead, let's hear it. What is the worst ship in the game? Leave it down below. The most upvotes will likely become a video. Champagne, though, I largely considered this the worst global XP battleship for a really long time, but this ship is actually really good. I've been working on changing my perspectives on some old ships and replaying them and trying to figure out what makes them tick. Champagne, very similar to Gascon, except she has 6 406mm guns, is more accurate, faster, but less tanky. The playstyles, though, they are similar, so if you're a fan of Gascon, you would be a fan of Champagne and vice versa. I would say Gascon, you could play a little closer to the action, maybe spam HE more. For Champagne, I'm using a typical battleship build focused on reload and accuracy. Worth noting, in slot 1 here, French battleships do have access to this armament durability module, and it's going to make your turrets harder to knock. In the recent 7 games that I played to test her out for this video, I didn't lose a turret a single time. Now, part of that could be due to the playstyle of these ships. You're not sitting in one spot and you're not playing bow in, but honestly, I would use aiming systems for the accuracy. Plus, and Wargaming consider fixing this, the 5% nerf to HP is more insult to injury for a module that I don't imagine a lot of people use. You have secondary module here that is useful on a lot of ships, including some French ships like Flandre, and then the AA module that is good on like Richelieu and Jean Bart and Le Foudre. I largely consider this armament durability module not that great. After that, prop, conceal, and reload. My premium build is Azerland Dunkirk, of course, and I just hate to say that now. This commander's too good. Colorado and de Revel. It gives me a blazing fast reload of 19.5 seconds and respectable accuracy. Now, if I were free to play, I would use Gégard, de Revel, and probably Condo. A stealthy French battleship is super annoying to deal with. Why? Because they have megalomania in slot 3 here, and their concealment bloom is going to go away after 15 seconds instead of 20, so they're disappearing after they shoot more quickly. Yes, you definitely want to use megalomania, I would say, almost on all French battleships, just because it's really, really good, but especially on Champagne because the gun range is so massive, every time you fire, you're going to be spotted by basically everyone. Now, part of the reason I've always thought the Champagne was bad was because, well, she was. When this campaign ran, this ship was straight up garbage. And if you don't believe me, we're going to talk about all the buffs this ship has gotten over the years. There are a lot of them. She has been buffed every year since coming to the game. Champagne came to the game in the Tall Glass of Victory campaign in May 2021, and soon thereafter, her main battery range was increased a little bit. Her shell grouping was increased by 5%, reload of the guns decreased 2 seconds, repair party HP per second increased by 33%, HP was increased 5,000, HE shell damage was increased 600, main battery range was increased again, rudder shift time was reduced 1.5 seconds, and then the creme de la creme, the main battery reload booster, was added as an option in May of 2023. And all of this to make Champagne perform in a spot where she probably should have been performing, but hey, I would rather Wargaming release campaigns in a more mediocre state than to have super, super powerful campaign ships released. I think we all learned our lesson with Summers CE, the Mines, and the Wichita. Those ships are still absolutely overpowered and they're still spammed relentlessly all these years later. So, mediocre campaign ships, I can't be too upset with them because hopefully in the future they'll get some sort of a love that could make them perform in the state that they should be. And Champagne is a perfect example of that, as is her sister ship. We'll call it a sister ship, Flandre. Both of these French battleships have been buffed beautifully, and D7P just popped up, so we're going to take our first shot. There is a destroyer in ACAP, and the cruiser over here with me is also a D7P, so without radar, we're going to be unable to spot him, which means we can't push anymore, basically. We're going to stay over here on this flank and be a royal pain in the butt, and that is what Champagne is very, very good at. We have a Delaware, a D7P, there will be a Bismarck over here, and then the DD I want to say it's an Akazuki or a Kitakaze, but I cannot remember, to be 100% honest. You'll notice on the Provincian we got quite a few overpens. These big French guns are pretty bad about that with overpens, and D7P, like I mentioned in my Tirpitz video, it's a very thin cruiser. So honestly, it's a ship where you want to use broadside technology. If a large caliber battleship is shooting at you, then just turn flat broadside and let the shells overpen. But hopefully we can finish D7P off the board here, and then we probably need to turn out because I don't know where the DD is. There could be torpedoes already on the way. Not to mention Delaware with those airstrikes. It's just a dangerous combination. And Provincian with her airstrikes. Very, very dangerous, and we are in a squishy battleship. You can see our HP pool now, 54,000 because we're using Megalomania. But yeah, let's go ahead and turn out and start kiting. This ship is, it's like the ultimate kiter. I would say this and, you know, the Gascon. The rear firing gun angles and the fast rudder shift are perfect, making this the ideal kiting battleship. You don't have to play it that way. I did have a recent game on Trident where we were in the thick of it most of the match. I love Trident because of that. It's a small map. You spawn pretty close together, and it's action, you know, straight from the beginning. But yeah, so you don't have to play from extreme ranges, but in this match, it just turned out to be, you know, that was the best thing we could do, was stay over here on the flank and be an utter nuisance. Delaware did drop an airstrike on us. With our fast rudder shift, though, hopefully we can dodge most of it. I think we're going to catch one right on the keister. Yep, skill issue. But it's fine. We're going to keep sailing out here, and here comes the Bismarck as well. Good kiting ship and a great sniper. This is the most accurate French battleship currently in the game. The Sigma is 2.0. Let's test that out on the broadside of Delaware, which for some reason these ships have below the water citadels, like really low. Why? I think it should be raised a little bit to make them more susceptible. Honestly, they already have massive HP pools, but hey, that's not the point of this video. Yes, the ship is a very, very good sniper. Sigma of 2.0 and battle cruiser dispersion. Now, sometimes with the volume of fire, salvos look like that. Yeah, that wasn't pretty, but part of it is you only have 6 shells flying through the air at one time, and so it doesn't look that great. Like in comparison, you fire Columbo's guns and it looks beautiful because you have 16 shells going through the air, even though that ship is really not very accurate, statistically on paper. But anyways, the low volume of shells, that's why I did reload, just to make up for that, so that we're firing more often, and it's not so much about RNG as it is just volume of fire, and we're going to be able to put up some pretty good damage numbers against these guys. Another airstrike coming in from Delaware, but I think with our speed, we are just going to straight up outrun them, and this ship is very, very fast. 34 knots base, and we have an 8% speed boost, so with that and the speed flag, I mean, you're sitting at 37, 38 knots. It is very, very quick. I wouldn't really call it an HE spammer, but in situations like this where battleships are just going to angle, then yeah, you should absolutely load up the HE and you can get some good fires and some good HE shell damage. Honestly, the HE shell damage, I think it was like the second best after the Lion. Pretty good, and you have a high fire chance as well. The reload booster is beautiful for those players who want to DC single fires. I'm still amazed at how much that happens, that battleship players will damage con a single fire. The game's been out for 5 years. I know like new players are coming to the game all of the time, but to me that is just silliness. But Champagne is one of those ships that can capitalize on that and really make the enemies pay for that. Jejard. I wanted to talk about the Jejard build. So this ship has crazy long range guns. The longest range guns on any battleship at tier 7. So if you are into it, you could try the Jejard meme build with Megatron and Enrique Fernandez. The guns are going to reach 22 kilometers, and that is pretty silly, but I would recommend trying it if you haven't. Most players just don't expect to get touched from the other side of the map. Now the problems with Champagne, because she does have some problems, mainly survivability can be a bit of an issue. You have a low HP pool, and you're wrapped in 32 millimeters of armor basically everywhere, so HE spam is absolutely absolutely an issue, and I think this Bismarck is a little bit of a new player, but honestly, the way I was angling, why wouldn't he shoot HE? So that's fine. This game is pretty much a wash in our favor, so we're going to come in here and brawl with the Bismarck and see how we do there. Now, I wouldn't really call this a brawler, but in a 1v1 situation, aside from anything with torpedoes or a really strong secondary armament, I would not be afraid to take this thing into brawls at all. Basically, any French battleship is a good brawler when it comes down to it, and Champagne is no different. She has turtleback armor that is going to protect your citadel up close, and you have a very fast turret traverse time. Now, of course, we have Azerlane Dunkirk here, so we're going to wait and do our shell swap in 1 second, and then we can hit this guy with AP. The secondaries are kind of dangerous on Bismarck, but let's face it, this game is pretty much over, so we're just damage farming at this time. Brawling. I don't think, it's just not the meta, as it is something that you do late game or middle game in a match. It's just something that happens, but, you know, starting a match out and going and brawling with the battleship is just not something that happens in this game. So yeah, but Champagne can brawl when you need to. Aside from thinking the ship was bad for so long, part of it was just me developing as a player. When I go back to when I first started this game and was first playing battleships, I just didn't know what to do with the battleship. You know, if I had an Iowa, I would try to park somewhere and just use the front guns. That was the way that I thought that I could protect myself the best and not get shot on the broadside and deal damage to enemies. But as you develop as a player, learning how to kind of play in this flowing play style where you're moving around the map and adjusting your speed, adjusting your rudder the entire time, it makes you much more difficult to deal with for enemies, and Champagne is really, really good at this play style. I think it's something that you would get the hang of, you know, new players in a few hundred games or 1,000 games or something like that. It's not that much of an ask, I suppose. You know, matches go by pretty quick. 15 minutes on this version of World of Warships instead of 20 on PC. So I feel like you can learn rather quickly and get the hang of Champagne and have a lot of fun in this ship. And honestly, once you do, it makes other battleships feel kind of boring. Like, I don't want to play Vladivostok and park somewhere bow in necessarily. You know, I would much rather have this sort of flowing, moving gameplay style. It's just a lot more fun. And we have some DDs here at like 17 kilometers. Chances are we're not going to hit them, but hey, we're going to shoot our shot and try to hit them anyways. I don't know why two of the red team DDs, both of their destroyer force on their team, has ended up in the far nether regions of the map over here at the end. Unsure why, but it is what it is. This game is definitely going to be a wrap. If you were saving up your global XP, of course, Tier 7 would be where I would start. I think these are some of the best ships and the best value. Tier 8, doubling the price of how much global XP you're going to have to spend to get one of these ships. So I would absolutely recommend some of these Tier 7 ships. And there are a lot of really, really good ones. We have a video on that you can go check out. But Champagne, yeah, if you like a mobile, agile, fast battleship with hard-hitting long-range guns, this could be the battleship for you. Well, that is going to wrap this one up for me. Don't forget to vote on what you think the worst ship in the entire game is. I would love to hear it, and we'll make a video about it. This is Derka signing off. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.